Star Wars isn't exactly known for its scientific accuracy, but in this video, we're going to take a closer look at one aspect of the epic space saga, Force lightning. Would it be possible in real life? Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? No, I thought not. It's not the kind of story a Jedi would tell you. It's a Sith legend. And anyone among you who's ever looked into the Dark Lords of the Sith knows that most of them can use the Force to shoot deadly lightning from their hands. It would be pretty handy if that worked in real life too. If your coffee got cold, you could just heat it up again quickly with a few Force lightning bolts. First of all, the explanation given in the Star Wars movies for any kind of Force activity can be dismissed right away from a scientific perspective, because this is how it's explained, whether Jedi and Sith are lifting heavy objects with the Force, performing mind tricks, etc., etc. It's always the midi-chlorians that are responsible, tiny life forms that exist in most living beings. The higher the density of midi-chlorians, the more Force-sensitive an individual is. I even checked my own blood for you guys, and lo and behold, no midi-chlorians. That could mean that I'm either just extremely non-Force sensitive, or that there simply aren't any midi-chlorians outside of a galaxy far, far away. What a shame. But how can we still get to our Force lightning? We have to delve deep into the secrets of the dark side of the Force, also known as electrical engineering. Could air even conduct Force lightning at all? Because if the answer were no, Palpatine's attacks would already fail simply because his Force lightning would lack a conductor. In fact, air is not a particularly good conductor. In fact, it's quite the opposite, a good insulator. So, electric charges are poorly conducted through air. But Palpatine's Force lightning is powerful enough to overcome the insulating properties of air. Basically, almost everything has what's called a breakdown voltage. Simply put, that's the amount of electric charge needed for a material to become a conductor after all. A handy rule of thumb in electrical engineering: with enough electricity, anything becomes a conductor. And you actually know this breakdown voltage from your everyday life, even if on a smaller scale. Every time you get a little electric shock, for example on the escalator or when you rub a balloon on your hair, that's this effect. Here in the planetarium, we have an object where you get shocked especially often, a plasma ball. I'll try to catch one right now. Ouch. What just happened here? The surface of my body had a more negative charge than the plasma ball, and this imbalance between negative and positive charge wants to even out. If it's strong enough, this equalization can happen through a small electric charge, even though there was the poor conductor air between me and the plasma ball. If the imbalance of charge is big enough, we reach the breakdown voltage. And if I can already do that with my plasma ball, then for a powerful Sith Lord like Palpatine, it's obviously a piece of cake. On the other hand, Palpatine's Force lightning is of course a bit more intense than my little electric shock just now. So how could he manage that? The magic word is electron avalanche. To understand this, we have to go down to the atomic level. When Palpatine shoots electricity from his fingers, he hurls a bunch of electrons into the air, negatively charged elementary particles. These electrons collide with atoms, and when electrons hit atoms, they can ionize them, meaning they energize them. During ionization, the electrons are torn out of an atom. And when an atom loses a negatively charged electron, it becomes a positively charged ion. Sounds complicated, but you all know the effect of ionization, for example from the northern lights. High-energy solar radiation ionizes the upper layers of the Earth's atmosphere, which then start to glow in the most beautiful colors. And by the way, our plasma ball, which sneakily gave me an electric shock, is also a great example of ionization. The ball contains certain gases, and when the power is switched on, these gases are ionized. When you touch the ball, it causes distortions in the discharges inside the lamp. And with an electron avalanche, we have a self-reinforcing effect of this ionization. More and more electrons are ripped out of atoms and in turn collide with even more new atoms, which they ionize, until eventually an avalanche of ionization forms and the Jedi scum gets completely roasted. Oh sorry, My negative emotions got the better of me there. Alright, so far we're still completely within the realm of science. If force lightning can be achieved through ionization and triggering electron avalanches, then that must mean that the Sith can control the electrons around them at will, creating charge imbalances. So, in effect, they can create exactly the same conditions at will as those that occur during a thunderstorm. A charge imbalance between negatively charged cloud layers and a positively charged area beneath the clouds, which is then neutralized by a lightning bolt. Okay, I'm not going to let myself get struck by lightning again. And how do you control individual electrons purely by willpower, so that you can fire off a force lightning bolt to balance the voltage at any time? That's where science leaves us, I'm afraid. That really can only be explained by the Force. Apparently, Palpatine has to make his midichlorians work up quite a sweat to pull that off. But that brings us to another question. If Palpatine is apparently using his own physical energy to manipulate electrons, where does he get that energy from? After all, the midichlorians are in his body. Surely you've heard of the law of conservation of energy before. It states that in a closed, frictionless system, the total energy always remains the same. If Palpatine releases extreme amounts of energy through his lightning, he has to somehow generate that energy within his own body. Because as far as we know, Jedi and Sith don't use any external devices for their force abilities, just their bodies. And the energy source for our bodies is exactly food. Finally, a good segue again to eat something in one of my videos. How much and what would Palpatine have to eat to get enough energy for his dark manipulation of electrons? Let's assume for a moment that Palpatine's force lightning is comparable to an average lightning strike on Earth. That much wouldn't even be necessary to kill a person, but for a Sith Lord, it should be easy to keep up with an ordinary lightning strike. The basic unit of electric current is the ampere, and an average lightning bolt carries about 30,000 amperes. Converted into joules, which is the unit of energy, that would be 500 megajoules. Now we can simply calculate how much food one would need to consume for that, since joules can be converted into calories. So Palpatine would have to eat enough calories in the Death Star's cafeteria, if there even is one, to reach 500 megajoules. A Big Mac, the most important unit of measurement in mathematics, of course, contains 500 kilocalories, which is 500,000 calories. You always have to be a bit careful here, because when it comes to food, people often talk about calories, but what they actually mean are kilocalories. Let's do the math. Palpatine would have to eat about 240 Big Macs for breakfast in order to fire off a force lightning bolt at Luke that matches the intensity of an average lightning strike during a thunderstorm. 240 Big Macs isn't actually that bad. I mean, I couldn't do that in a single day, but over the course of a week, easy. Of course, Palpatine wouldn't be able to convert all the Big Mac calories directly into force lightning, and he still needs energy for his other bodily functions. So just to be safe, he should probably eat a few more Big Macs than just 240. And once again, science has provided us with fundamental insights for our lives. If you want to shoot force lightning, you just have to eat a ton of burgers and somehow figure out how to control electrons to trigger ionization avalanches. Long live science! Another movie where you can learn a lot about science is Interstellar. In the video shown, I take you on a journey through black holes, space, and time. Be sure to click on it and check it out. If you enjoyed this video, I'd also really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel so I can reach my big goal of 100,000 subscribers. And otherwise, I'd say, may the burger be with you. See you, folks.